Today's guest is Doug Fury. On this day he was kind enough to talk to us about what he is currently up to, including playing in the Biff Naked Band, including being part of Sarah McLachlan's Lilith Fair Festival, and sharing the stage with artists like Billy Idol and Snoop Dogg, Shizzle Diesel.
Going from the band you were in at Universal to joining Biff Naked.
Okay, so we got the deal with Universal, and then when we were on Universal, it's like anything, the work really was just starting.
Right. The hustle that led to that was just the beginning of it.
Just the beginning. So, because we were self-managed, I had a booking agent that I was dealing with on my own. I had a record label that I was trying to motivate on my own. And then I was still trying to write songs and get the band happening. And energies get really divided very easily. And I was having a hard time motivating Universal to promote the band. You had an A&R guy. And the A&R person would be, that would be your point of contact. But if their hands are tied, their hands are tied. So you're going to start, I guess, trying to find other ways to motivate them. Brian, our A&R guy at Universal, and he was he was into it. It was really good. But the only thing is, at that time, there was a few other signings that were higher priority than us. And Face the Pain was an outside the box band. Like, we were a smaller band, and we were also more challenging. We weren't as mainstream as these other artists that they had signed. So most of the thrust of the effort was going to these other artists. And I started to get just fed up, I guess, and I started to look for a manager because I needed somebody to start hustling the record label, trying to get things happening. So our booking agent at the time said, you should talk to Peter Carroll, who manages Biff.
Right, the legend Peter Carroll.
Yeah, he's been in the business for a while, and he was managing Annihilator at the time, and said that, try giving him a call. He might be into it because he's into heavier bands. And our band was pretty heavy at that point. Like, our music, our style was pretty heavy.
Right.
So I called Peter, and he took us on as management. And he had us open up for Biff on a cross-Canada tour.
I see.
So that's kind of ended up being the audition for the Biff gig.
It was Biff on Universal at that time as well?
No. Biff was, I think she was on Warner or Sony. I can't remember. But the only common thing was management.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at some point, somebody asked you if you want to join the Biff Naked Band.
Well, we were writing a second record for Face the Pain, and we were getting nowhere. There was infighting in the band. Things were falling apart. So Peter just said, hey, do you want to come out for a couple or 3 weeks and do this tour? You'll just be playing guitar, and it'll get your head out of there for a bit, and just fill in. And I said, sure, it would be a great break. So I took off and went on tour playing with as guitar player for Biff. And then 10, 12 years later.
Right.
That's how it goes.
So what's the first record that you made with Biff? Studio record?
It was actually a couple singles. We covered We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister.
Okay.
And that was for Dude, Where's My Car? And then after that, I was on all the records. I guess the next 2 or 3 records, I guess.
Okay.
After that, yeah. 3.
So what was the first one?
Purge. That's the record. Name of the record is Purge.
Okay. Because at your studio, there's a gold record.
Yeah.
Gold record up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one that I was on.
Like, at that time, that level of excitement.
It's a different thing. Like, you start riding on buses, you start playing for crowds that are going to be at your shows. But the thing is, I had that with my own band, but only in 1 or 2 cities.
Right.
Now this is going all across Canada, where you're going to play for audiences that are larger audiences all across the country, and then even in foreign territories. So that became like, that was a trip, to go somewhere, some city that you hadn't been before, and to see a crowd turn up for you. That was something else.
And currently you're working with her right now.
Yeah. I engineered and recorded and produced like a lot of previous records for her. And I worked on all the bands that were on her label. That's how I got into the studio part of it. And so, yeah, I haven't been a part of the last 1 or 2 records, and we're currently going to start writing some new stuff now. And we're going into pre-pro. We'll see how it goes. You know, I'm never counting things, never counting chickens before they're hatches. With this business, if it isn't already done, it hasn't happened, you never count on it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're going to get together and start writing some new material for another record.
Okay, so I know from talking to you in the past that you have had the opportunity to play some really great shows and play with some really cool artists. And the one artist that I know that you toured with was Billy Idol.
Yeah.
Now, what was that? How long of a tour was that?
That was 10 or 12 shows across all in Canada, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And
we're talking some pretty big venues here, right? We're talking bigger than theaters.
Oh yeah.
Like hockey rinks.
A lot of them are rinks and stuff like that. Billy Idol he can still draw. Like he's and you know
he's an icon right now. He's a legendary icon.
Yeah. And I grew up loving Billy Idol when I was in high
school. For sure.
So
him and Much Music, they grew up together, and it was it was a great pairing.
Yeah, which is so it was a trip to see Billy Idol and Steve Stevens,
who I'm sure you watched many times. I still consider one of the best flashy guitar players of all time.
He's super underrated. Like he has chops. He has like Eddie Van Halen chops, but not as many people know that. But he would do a guitar solo every night during Billy Idol's set, and he would start on flamenco guitar, and then he would move on to electric, and it was like on par with all those great guitar greats. Like that guy is a shredder.
You played shows at Lilith Fair, the Sarah McLachlan Festival.
Yes.
So,
that was with Lilith Fair. It was a weird one. We actually did 6 or 7 shows on Lilith Fair, and they were Canadian dates. I think they were Canadian dates. It's all starting to blur, Marco.
Now, these are outdoor festivals, right?
Yeah,
these
outdoor
are
festivals.
big outdoor festivals, right?
Yeah, and so we were part of the festival, and then, but as well though, on the dates that we weren't playing Lilith Fair, we were touring with the Cult. We were opening for the Cult.
Right. Yes.
So we would do a Lilith Fair show, and then we would go down and we would do a Cult show, then come back and do Lilith Fair. Actually, I think some of the most of the Lilith Fair dates were in the States now. I'm remembering. Yeah. So it was the States, and all this touring was in the U.S. So it was a weird thing to go from like Lilith Fair, which was super acoustic, kind of light vibe, and then go and play with the Cult, which is
right. Two different things for sure.
Which was like rock, you know what I mean? And so, but that was a cool thing with Biff, is that she could cross over and do those different, avenues, those different tours, and still fit in.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're at an event like Lilith Fair, I'm wondering what's going on backstage. Is everybody, having a big picnic together? Are you sitting there with Sheryl Crow and Sarah McLachlan, or is it work as usual? And what's it all about?
It's not a big kumbaya fest in the backstage. No.
Right.
Unfortunately, no. I mean. The thing is, with Lilith Fair, it's totally pro, and everything is running on clock, on schedule all the time. I mean, you've got industry people who've been doing big concerts for a long time running the show, so you're going to make sure you're on set on time, and the backstage area is running like a well-oiled machine. Like you have a drum kit that's already on a riser, that's set up, that's ready to be rolled onto the stage before your set time is before your set time. So you're basically all set up backstage. You roll everything out, and then you perform.
At this point, now that you've been playing all these shows with Biff and playing some pretty big crowds, like, is it walking out in front of an audience like that? Is it nerve-wracking, or at some point are you just pumped up with energy and you're going out to?
At the beginning, it was nerve-wracking. Then I still feel nerves, but it's an excited feeling rather than like oh my God, what am I doing? Like I don't belong here. You start to gain more confidence, and then when you get out on stage, like when you walk out, you're like, I want to kill it tonight. I remember one show we played with the Dropkick Murphys. And it was in Boston, and people were having none of it.
Oh, right.
Playing with opening up for the Dropkick Murphys while you're kind of more pop. You're a lot more pop than the Dropkick Murphys, who are punk rock pretty much, and they're in their hometown. We had people just like middle finger up the whole show. what are you going to do? Just play through your set.
Right.
Be pro.
So did you ever play a show with Snoop Dogg?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we played in Hawaii. We opened up for Snoop Dogg.
What was that like? What was the backstage like to that? Is it the same as it was at Lilith Fair, or?
No, way different.
Way different.
Yeah. But to be honest, Snoop Dogg and he had a huge entourage with him.
Right.
But they kind of kept to themselves. It was they had their own backstage area, and they really didn't show up to the show until like 10 minutes before they were going to play. They were just hanging out in the hotel the whole time.
Right.
But when they got on stage, he had a full live band that were all killer musicians, like pro, top notch, session musicians that were all up on stage. And it was, I think he had like a 10-piece band at the time.
And I love that combination of hip hop artists and big band.
Yeah, yeah. And he played all the hits. Everybody went crazy. And what can you say?
Right.
It was awesome.
Sorry.
So I opened up the studio, but initially it was just opened because I wanted to record some music I had of my own.
Okay. This is the location that you're at right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was only going to be parked there. I figured I would just set it up for maybe 3 or 4 months and record all the songs that I wanted to record, and then who knows what happens after that. But while I was there, I had a few bands that expressed interest in recording, and I brought them in, and just started, like, it was a really cool vibe at the space that I'm at, and people were comfortable recording there, and I was getting great stuff, great sounds out of there. And then one thing led to another. Just, they had a good experience. They tell another band who tells another band who tells another band.
That's the best way. That's the best advertising.
Yeah, word of mouth just spread. Some bands will come in and they've got everything arranged the way they want, and I'm going to throw out ideas. That's just what I do. I always throw out ideas. And if people like them, great. If they don't, then let's go down that path that they've lived with the songs longer than I have. So we'll go and we'll explore their version of it. Yes, you have to have passion for what you do, and you have to believe in what you're doing, but you also need objectivity. You need to be able to be like, I know that part of me wants to jam this thing into the song, but is it really helping the song or not?
Right.
And be able
dividing
to separate
the
yourself.
left side to the right side of the brain.
Yeah.
Definitely always been a struggle for me, and working with you at Fortissimo, I feel like I've continuously, every time I go in, I learn something. I learn better ways of working with you. And one thing that you offer that I've talked about with my bandmate Jessica, is that working with you is like this really nice balance of working with somebody who's extremely focused, but at the same time is kind of warm and makes you feel like comfortable. And I've worked in different situations with different people where that's a really tough balance to strike.
Yeah.
I know that the people that other artists that I know that have come out of your studio have told me the same thing about you. So your personality is also part of the studio being successful.
Yeah.
You're a psychologist as well.
When it comes down to anything, and it's not just music, it's like that kindergarten report card where there's that line that says plays well with others, and you get that box checked or not.
Right.
That's a big part of it is can you communicate, and can you work well with others in different capacities. Yeah. Okay. So we were at the Railway, and we were starting to get to that point where the band's figuring out what we are. We played a small room. We had a great show. It was lots of fun. Crowd got into it. Not a lot of people there, but the people that were there enjoyed it. And so we're tearing down, and this guy comes up and said, "Man, I really loved that show. It would be so awesome if you played in Korea." And I was tearing my guitar rig down. I'm like, "Yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?" And then he asked for a business card or something. I'm like, "Sure, man, here you go."
It was the old play in Korea trick.
Yeah. So I said, great, here, yep, there's a card. I got to continue tearing down my stuff. I got to make way for the next band or whatever was happening.
That might be a good lesson that you had a card.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey,
I think a lot of people who think
the hustle.
is the hustle, right?
Always have the hustle ready.
Okay.
But paid no attention to it, didn't think about it for a second after the show at all. And 6 months later, we got an email saying, how would you guys, we would love to have you come play in Busan in Korea at this festival. It's an international festival where they bring in international acts, and we would love you to play in Busan. Would you be into it? We get the email, and of course it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. We'll believe it when we see it. But it ended up, it was for real. We had, we knew it was for real when they sent the money transfer over and bought the flights. When the flights were bought, we were like, okay, cool, this is actually going to happen.
Right.
But it was all pie in the sky.
This is, I'm guessing, somewhat rare to be plucked out of a club.
It is.
That's part of the dream, I guess.
Yeah, but it's also the same thing, Marco. Your opportunities will never come where you expect them. They're always from out in left field. And the only way that opportunities come is if you're busy out hustling and you're working stuff and you're out doing things. If you do things, you attract, you attract opportunities. And to recognize that those opportunities are disguised as hard work, that's really, when you change your mindset into that, that's when you start opening doors to maybe having, getting to where you want to go.
Thank you so much to Doug, and thank you for listening to this podcast. We just talked about music.